Hi, welcome to Inside the Moms Club, where being a mom is the coolest place to be. Here in the Moms Club, we believe that what embarrasses you now will make a great story later. And let's face it, you don't laugh sometimes, you're gonna cry. Join us in having a good laugh together. I'm Monica Samuels. You are now inside the Moms Club, your private destination for all things mom. Hi, moms. Welcome to Inside the Moms Club. I'm Monica Samuels, your host, and I'm here with my co-host today, Julie Orkin.
Hello, hello.
Julie has she's had some excitement this week, and congratulations are in order because your youngest daughter got her driver's license. This is a big, big moment.
It's a big moment because, let me tell you, I've decided that child needs incredible independence. You know, and I thought it would be sad because we wouldn't drive. No, this is one that needs to be set free. So we went to the DMV, and a lot of these moms have been through this. I know everybody probably has a little bit. And we get there, and I'm so excited for this moment of not having to get up at 6:30, drive her, do the whole thing, see how she handles life maybe a little bit better. So they call the number. And it's like bingo. I was jumping up and everybody is looking at me and, you know, running over. And I just basically said to the police officer there, if they don't give her the license today, we're going to need your services right here. So we were very successful. I'm super excited. And life seems to be a little bit more on track, time management. We all got a little freedom that day.
So watching that, going through that process again, it kind of, maybe it reminds you of all the drivers you see on the road now and how they got there. Because when my oldest son got his driver's license, he went to do his road test.
Yeah.
And I'm sitting there waiting. He comes back and he said, I passed. I'm like, oh, yay, you passed. He said, yeah, when I made a right-hand turn to start it out and I went in front of oncoming traffic. We almost got hit. And the woman there told me, the person grading me said, you know, that was not good. You can't do that.
I mean,
like they passed you and you almost had an accident.
Really, when you're getting your license, you only need a D.
Well,
I mean, it's not really.
It was a little, so I really didn't. He wanted to drive me home, and I'm like,
well, you're a rule follower, Monica,
and
you had a certain driving issue. They didn't really know how to score it.
Oh, well, that's true. Now, true confession. So when I got my driver's license, I am a big rule follower. That's why I became a lawyer. And I stopped at a green light. And the sheriff that was scoring me, he looked and he's like, I really don't know how to score this.
He's like, I don't know how to do
wrong.
this.
You're not supposed to stop at a green light. But it's not the worst thing. You know.
Yeah, extra cautious.
Making sure that it really is green. I can really go through.
Yeah.
So
anyway, that was my exciting news. I know it's not thrilling for everyone, but it helps you move on with life and give that wing, starts flapping them, you know, and I think that's kind of our job as moms.
It is.
Yeah.
There's only one law that I wish they would add to the books on driving, and that is that you should be forced to wave if someone lets you in.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know how they would enforce it exactly, but if you want to get me upset, let me be a nice person and say, you know what, go.
Yeah,
go right
more
ahead.
Manners, less road rage.
And then they just, didn't do them any kind of favor.
It's not going to happen, Monica,
I know, but it just kind of, I feel like it would be a nicer, more friendly world if we all just thanked each other and,
Right. I feel like this was a story everybody could relate to if you have a child.
Can. Yeah. Well, that is, every mom can relate. And we have a mom here with us today who has one son, so I'm sure she's been through it. So I'm going to introduce our guest today. We are very fortunate to have with us a 3-time Emmy-winning host. She hosted network syndicated reality and talk shows. She hosted Good Day LA for 2 decades. She now teaches at Pepperdine and Chapman, 2 excellent schools, teaches broadcast journalism there. She's incredibly philanthropic. She has done a medical mission with an organization called Mending Kids, which we'll ask her more about today. And I love her Instagram bio. Her tagline is, saving the world one glass of wine at a time. Which
Amen.
We love that. Welcome, Dorothy Lucey. Welcome to the Moms Club.
Thank you. I think last night I just had the wine. I didn't do any world saving.
Well, you
probably thought about it.
Yeah, every day
So,
you have to kind of work up. You kind of stay, you got to keep doing that. So
In that drinking shape. You gotta
do.
have wine every
that
day.
keeps you, ready for that moment. You never know when you're going to get to save the world, Anything can happen when you're...
Thank you for that intro. That was like way too impressive.
You're
I don't
very
know who that
impressive.
girl is.
You're
We
very
disagree.
impressive. So let me ask you questions. Since this is the Moms Club, and we just talked about one of the big events of life is when your child gets to, launches out on the road and is driving. So you're a mom of a son who's now older.
I'm
like
lucky
my
you don't
son.
get kicked out of the Moms
You're
Club.
never
He's
kicked-
24.
No. Oh, hey.
Oh.
I have
So you're
21,
still
20.
He's an
still
old
mothering,
man.
right?
No. You're never.
I
you
try
don't-
to.
I know.
I want to.
You are never out of the Moms Club.
Thank God.
Ever. What it is, you are. Sometimes your kids kind of kick you out of the Moms Club. I mean, they don't need you as much, so you kind of feel kicked
I've
out
noticed
of the Moms
that
Club.
for about the past
You're
20
always,
years.
You're
Yes.
always a
40
mom.
years old.
So you've had
And
this
I am a
amazing-
grandmother.
Oh, wow.
So
Of two
we were-
dogs.
I was. Okay. There you go. So,
see,
I have grandpups.
yeah. So does Monica. She
I do
takes
too.
care of them
Well, I
all the
just
time.
found out today I have to keep one for like several weeks and maybe months. I learned that just because my son called me and he
Just
said,
moments ago.
Yeah, well, it was just before we came on. He said, it just dawned on me. I'm going to be gone for 2 weeks to Florida, and then I'm going to be here and there. And I don't know, Max can't stay by himself. And I'm like, well, no, I guess Max can't stay by himself.
And there's
So-
never an ask. It's always just a thanks.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, yeah, he wasn't asking. He was, what am I going to do? Leave
Informing.
some poor dog alone somewhere? So, yeah, that was rough. Well, so you're a 3-time Emmy winner. You have been on, Good Day LA for, 2 decades.
Dear
You've
God,
done
yeah, almost 20 years.
All the amazing work. And that had to be challenging to get there. That's impressive. But what was more challenging? Being a mom or being the host of Good Day LA and all the other things that
Well,
you've done in your
other
career?
than being pregnant on the show and not being able to even billy up to the desk, it was actually the world's greatest mom job. Because you don't have to leave because you're leaving at 4 a.m. so everybody's asleep, but you get to come home.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And I never missed a field trip. I mean, sometimes I probably had too much TV makeup on and inappropriate shoes, but I always got to go on the field trip. So it was really a good mom job.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, that's pretty
good.
cool. That's pretty cool. But I have a question for you too. And you picked Mending Kids, and that's one of the organizations that you work with. And I am a nurse. And so
Come on a mission
I
with
know,
us.
I know. So listen,
Where do you want to go? We go everywhere.
I've already looked it up.
Did you really?
Yes, of
we
course.
work in 65 different countries.
Yes, it's very impressive. I've done a few missions, and it's near and dear to my heart, right? Because you have to think
love
about what
hearing that.
what makes you tick, what brings you to what matters,
Yeah.
right?
I always want to go on a mission to St. Bart's, but somehow they have not had that one yet.
Yeah, it's most important, right? And so, what's most important? But to me, I want to know how you picked that one, why it was important to pick that one, because there is so many, and the mission trips are hard because sometimes when you have such a large task in a country that you don't even know if you are making a dent. But now that I've done
It's a
two
tiny,
of them,
tiny dent.
It's a tiny dent, but you've made a very large impact
Lives
to
have
maybe
been
one
saved.
person or 2 people,
And if you
or
save
hundreds.
a life, I always feel you save a family, and then you help to save that village. And
Right. So you're teaching, you're educating, and that's really important. So my question is, how did you pick Mending Kids? How did that come about?
I feel like it kind of picked me. I always say when a friend invites you over for coffee, don't go. Because it was a friend who invited a bunch of us over for coffee.
It's a mission.
She had pictures of children and said to us, these kids are going to die.
Oh.
Unless at that point, we were bringing kids here for surgery.
Right.
Eventually, we figured out it was much cheaper to send the surgeons out there. Because for $50,000, we can do 40 surgeries in Ethiopia. Right. We cannot even do one in America.
Right.
So everyone who was there that morning for coffee took a child into their home. Except me. I was the only one who didn't. I was the wuss.
You were
But I did it later.
fostering.
I did it later. Yeah, we call it hosting. You have a
Hosting.
child stay with you for a couple of months while they're recuperating from surgery.
Ah, I see.
And then I've also volunteered on a bunch of missions where you go and I just bring lollipops and
Right. Right.
Toilet paper usually for the doctors.
I can tell you, having done 2 missions, it's critically important to have the
Toilet
non-medical volunteer staff
Yeah.
and then the volunteer staff.
And I feel, as
So,
much as I
and
love
medical
our
volunteer.
doctors, the nurses are everything.
Well, thank you. That's very exciting.
Yeah, they definitely.
So I really was very interested in that because
Yeah,
I think mission work is
Where all
important.
did you go? Where have you been on those mission
I've been
trips?
to Ethiopia twice. I always say I'm the only person who's gone to Africa and not gone on a safari. I went to El Salvador, Panama, Cambodia, and Peru. I took my son on a mission to Peru.
Now, what was that like, being with your son, doing it together?
I was so proud of him because he actually minored in Spanish in college. And so he acted as kind of like the interpreter and the liaison between the surgeons and the families. And at the end of the trip, so this was when he was going into his senior year in high school, we went.
Yeah.
At the end of the trip, we were, you have that debrief and you talk about, what was the good, what was the bad. And he said, this is the best vacation I've ever been on. And we were all laughing. We're like, it wasn't exactly a vacation, but I'm glad you had fun.
Yeah.
Because, basically as volunteers, you guys, the nurses and the doctors do all the work. We just play with the kids.
Yeah.
And sit with the parents and hold their hands.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, it's pretty critical because one of your organization, I actually got a chance to read that you actually accept kids under the age of 18 as long as they have a guardian go with them.
Yeah.
And so this combination of taking
we accept young
a
volunteers.
guardian or a parent on learning something outside of what happens in your daily life, I think that's very difficult these days with kids to teach them, you know what I mean? There's other parts of the world that exist that you have no idea. So I really wanted to ask that question. I know you've done
Dragged
more.
my son to the Amazon basin
That's
in Peru,
what-
and he had a great time.
Yeah,
With-
exactly.
With bugs like bigger than you guys.
Yeah.
Well, and it's so impressive that he came away from that experience saying that was such a great vacation, because that's an important experience. And there's so many,
And there was work involved, but there was
Yeah.
obviously fun and joy too.
Yeah. And you're so rewarding to help people like that. I mean, that's the
It
great
gets you
thing.
out of your own head.
Well,
Yeah.
and also getting yourself out of your own head. So you're teaching now as you're a professor at Pepperdine and Chapman in broadcast journalism.
Yeah, right now I'm teaching at Chapman.
Okay, great.
Great school.
Good school, very
good school.
And I was a broadcast journalism major for about 2 weeks, I guess. I don't know how long it was.
And then you said maybe I'll be a lawyer and make real money.
Here's what happened. I had a scholarship, actually. And I went to one of the classes, and the professor got up there and said, if you can't look at the widow who just saw her, husband killed in a plane crash and ask the tough questions, you don't belong in this class. If you can't ask, every horror story you could hear,
I
you
mean,
don't
there
belong in
there
this
certainly
class.
is
That's true. And so I was
a
like,
lot of that.
I guess I don't belong in this class. So I switched. But
Not like being a lawyer is easy.
no, that was a whole other story later on. But I loved it. And I wish I had done it. I mean, that was where obviously I
you're
got a
doing it now.
scholarship in it. So it's a great field, but it's changed a lot, I'm sure, since I was in that seat. So what's it like now teaching young aspiring journalists?
Well, like tomorrow I will see my students, and most of them are seniors.
Oh, wow.
So they're all in a panic moment because
Oh, yeah.
they're like 2 weeks away from being kicked out into the world.
Yeah.
So hopefully I have helped prepare them, because really the way I see it, my job is to let them know what things are really like
Yeah.
in the real world. God forbid they're going to join it any minute now.
So do you see a student and you're like, I'm really worried about that one, not really sure? Or can you see
Yeah, but
the
sometimes
bright
they
light?
surprise
They do
you.
surprise you.
Like every once in a while, when I first meet a student, I'll think, oh, this person is very shy. I don't think they can ask those questions. And then I'll see them do their first stand-up. I'll see them on camera. And, oh, okay, so you see the magic.
Yeah.
You know, that little it factor we always talk about? Yeah. It's always fun to see it.
And do you secretly tell the ones that you see, you might be a triple threat, double threat?
I
You're
mean,
really, yeah.
I encourage everybody, but there
Yeah.
are some that you just know
Yeah.
your future is ridiculously bright.
I mean, having a 20-year-old, I'm curious, like, what your relationship is with these kids. What are they like? I mean, we get a different vision as them being the,
And you know
the
what?
mom that
It's
has one
funny,
at college.
Here we are in the Moms Club. I try not to parent them, 'cause
Yeah,
I know that's
yeah.
not my job,
Yeah.
but sometimes you really want to.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
I'm sure a lot, actually.
Yeah.
So, well, and that brings up another issue. So today, a lot of kids, like we have kids that graduated together during the pandemic. So they graduated in 2020. They had no prom. They had no real graduation.
My son too. No I got robbed. He didn't care. I care. I got robbed at graduation. He was fine.
We feel differently.
Yeah, we had a drive-through graduation, and my son was the next to the last one to graduate. And by then, the teachers were like, have a nice life. It was not good. And then the beginning of college wasn't great either because they couldn't leave their rooms, and so there's a lot of anxiety that's been going on.
Yeah.
So are you seeing that as a professor? Are you noticing that there's a lot more
I
angst
taught on Zoom for a while.
Oh, yeah.
Which is just not the same.
No.
Yeah.
I mean, I didn't mind it. I enjoyed it still, but it's not the same. You just don't have the same connection.
Yeah. I was going to say, it's the connection is missing. So.
Well, you don't have that, but if you're going to have a professor on Zoom, a broadcast journalism professor who was a host and an Emmy Award winner, I think that would keep me awake. I mean, that one I would pay attention to.
The class that I taught, and I'm, I live 2 minutes away from Pepperdine, and I was teaching on Zoom, for the love of God. But it was an on-camera performance class, so it was actually fine that it was on Zoom.
Yeah. Well,
that's great. Well, there's so much stress in the world today.
Oh my God.
And they feel it. These kids feel it.
They really feel it.
And we feel it.
They feel it. I feel it.
Well, we are very excited this month that we're calling this Mother's Day month.
Yes,
and
I need a vacation.
Our sponsor, NewCalm, is giving away 3 of its mastermind memberships to 3 lucky moms.
Is this going to make me calmer?
It is going to make you totally calm.
Will it make me not operate in fight or flight, Monica?
First thing, yeah.
Okay.
It's going to make
I'm
you
listening.
so calm.
All right.
You're going to...
It's better than wine.
Okay.
It's better, yeah. And
all right.
Imagine it. So you are going to... So I'm going to give you a hat. So now you've got the
this is
NewCalm hat.
NewCalm. I like this golfing hat.
It is...
I'm ready.
Something every mom needs, every student needs. Well, everybody needs it. And I just can't say enough great
biggest
things about
thing
it.
is sleep. And I don't know if wine helps, but I would like to do this the natural way.
Well, this is a natural way without drugs. And let me just say, so Julie and I, when we travel together, when we're here in LA, we have to share a room.
Mm-hmm. I can't
and I
snore.
have a certain method of sleeping because I can't sleep. I wake up on and on, which is an unusual method, I know.
Yes.
But I play episodes of Seinfeld.
And not on headphones.
And that is not
relaxing.
You
are my husband.
And that is not relaxing to her. So if we had a NewCalm,
you could play that.
The Mastermind, it's the first streaming service for your brain. It retrains your brain. And they've used it with athletes and cancer patients and
military.
The military. Yeah, it is a researched product that we know works. And so here's what's being offered, moms. And this is Mother's Day month, so you've got it for all of this month of May because we consider this Mother's Day month.
I mean, Dorothy, you probably don't think that May is as relaxing as a mother as it should be.
But I loved what you said, Maycation. I want one of those, and I'm stealing that from my Instagram.
Right.
So here's what you could get. It is 3 lucky listeners will get a mastermind membership. It's worth $3,499. With that, you will have 5 years of access to all of NewCalm's channels. You'll get their biosignal processing discs, which help enhance the experience. You have an access to their whole leadership portfolio. And so we're very excited about it. And here's a little message from the president of NewCalm, just telling you more about it.
Moms are amazing. Moms bring joy. They bring love. They bring listening, they bring empathy, they bring compassion, they bring food, nutrients, shelter. Moms do it all. In fact, moms are the key to the survival of the human race. And sometimes being a mom can be a thankless job. And we're here to say thank you. My name is Jim Poole. I'm the president and CEO of NewCalm. And for more than 2 decades, we've been helping people solve stress, improve sleep without drugs. And we're here to help you. We love you. Happy Mother's Day. Thank you.
So we are very excited about that. Remember, go to Inside the Moms Club website and the UBN Go website. We'll get you more details. We're so excited about this.
I'm excited about sleep.
Very
more
excited.
energy.
Now, how would that be? Now, you've got saving the world one wine at a time. You could also save the world one sleep session at a time.
It would be good to be calm. And Mother's Day for me is often my son's birthday. It often falls on Mother's Day. So
really?
really
Okay.
sweet.
Yeah.
Well, good. I don't know what the rule. You'll have to check out the rules, but who knows? I don't know if guests are not eligible. We'll have to see. But yeah, NewCalm is an amazing product. You're going to absolutely love it. Well, we have with us some Zoomer moms that are going to come in and they'd like to ask you some questions. So welcome our Zoomer moms. Welcome to the Moms Club. Well, I'm just going to go around the group and each one of you introduce yourself to Dorothy and ask her a question. Jennifer, do you have a question for Dorothy?
Hi, so happy to meet you. I'm so excited to hear about what you've done in your sort of second act. You know, obviously your first act was very impressive and your second act is a little more on the down low. You know, you're doing things kind of behind the scenes instead of like up front, although I guess being a college professor is fairly up front. Anyway, so I'm just curious, like how you decided to make the transition from a very public life, a daily, job to becoming a professor, and what has that been like? What is the moving from kind of the daily grind of the news cycle to being someone who's kind of moving into the theoretical, teaching people how to, in this day and age when news is so tricky, become, communications majors and move out into the world, into this crazy world of, news and information that's so hard to pin down right now.
Well, I always think it's funny when my students are supposed to call me Professor Lucy, and it just makes me laugh. Really?
Professor Lucy.
It just seems way too fancy. But in all honesty, you don't always gracefully exit from TV. Mm-hmm. You get your ass kicked out the door at a certain point. So
it's a
that's
tough
what
business.
happened.
Yeah.
That's what happened. And eventually I found teaching, it was just kind of funny. It was a friend of mine who was a professor who used to bring his students to our show to Good Day LA. And I was taking my son on a college tour at Chapman. And this professor friend said, "Have you ever thought about teaching?" And I said, "No." Yeah. And he said, "Why don't you start?" And I fell in love with it from the first day. And it's funny. I mean, obviously you're not on camera, but I said to somebody recently, I love teaching. And they said to me, "Well, you love an audience." And I'm like, well, I don't think of them as my audience, but
Well, they kind of are. Yeah.
But I let them speak. It's very interactive.
Yeah.
They don't have to listen to me for 3 hours. But I really love teaching. I love being on a college campus. I love the give and take with the students. And I think in some way, I always thought when my son was little, oh, maybe I'll teach kindergarten when he was in kindergarten. Mm-hmm. Or maybe I'll teach first grade. Yeah. He's not in college anymore. He graduated, but I kind of still sort of see him there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, he's only 24, so
he just graduated 2 years ago.
Exactly.
He always says to me, "Oh my God, you don't talk to your students about me, do you?" And I'm like, "Of course I do."
Yeah.
Never.
But I really enjoy teaching.
So how do you feel about grading? Is it hard? Or, do you feel like, because I don't want to hurt anybody's feelings.
No, it's terrible. I sweat over it. I can't give anybody a crappy grade. And one of the other professors recently said to me, "Wait till you have to flunk someone." And I'm like, "Oh, not me. You can flunk somebody. Yeah. I can't." But I mean, you do have to be fair and honest in your grading, and it's hard.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, I'm sure you have a high score on Rate My Professor because you seem like you'd be a great teacher. And
I think I'm fun.
And a grader that they would like, because I know my son, when he's looking on Rate My Professor, it's always like, they give
grader?
all the A's. Yeah. Cheryl, you have a question. Introduce yourself, and you have a question for Dorothy.
I sure do. Hi, I'm Cheryl. I have 2 boys, 16 and 13, that keep me very busy. But, I grew up in not really a small town, but I grew up in Garland, Texas, and hardly left Texas, much less the United States, until I was married. Uh-huh. And my husband was offered an opportunity to go work in Brazil and then India. So I quit my job and moved overseas and did a lot of work, with families and helping the community there. But your work with Mending Kids is very inspiring. And I was just curious if you could go back and kind of relive one moment, or where did you feel like you made the biggest impact when you look back over the time that you've helped?
That's a good question.
Oh my gosh. You know what? I've actually started writing about some of the mission trips. So just today I was thinking about, I'll try and make this story short, but I was helping on a cardiac mission. And there was a little girl in Ethiopia who was lucky enough to have had surgery already which, I mean, this is a country where 1 in 6 kids dies before they are 5.
Right.
So there are surgeries that would happen in this country at birth, and they never happened there unless a mission team comes through. So there was this little girl. She had a surgery. There was an issue. They needed to go back in. So it was, it was incredibly scary and risky, but more risky not to do the surgery. And I was sitting with her mother, and it's Ethiopia. They speak 80 different languages in Ethiopia. So, I mean, she and I were just trying to, with gestures, trying to communicate. And I knew what she was trying to say to me is, okay, I could cry.
Oh,
will you, if my daughter lives, will you take her with you?
Oh, wow.
I am going to cry because there's many people that come up to you and they are willing to give you your child and get on a plane so they can have a better life. I can't tell you the times in Haiti after the earthquake that this happened. So that was a really good question, Cheryl, because it's a true thing that does happen. So, thank you for sharing that.
Wow.
And that beautiful little girl did live.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow.
And she's with her, and I'm assuming stayed with her mom.
Yeah.
Yes, this is not something that you can't. I mean, I would have.
If I could
I would
have.
have 300.
Right.
American Airlines would be like, I'm sorry, but you can't take 300 people back. Yeah.
Well,
So-
and you talk about me being an attorney. I was an immigration attorney at one time.
Oh, my
so
gosh, what you
I
must
was
have
one of
seen.
those people that, it was hard. That's
Yeah.
another whole mom's club, to be honest with
Yes.
you. Leslie, introduce yourself to Dorothy, and do you have a question?
Hey, Dorothy. Well, I mean, it's hard to follow up because Shirley asked such a great question. So, my name is Leslie. I have 2 kids. I have a now senior at UT and one that's graduating at the end of May from high school and going to University of Denver. So, we're about to be empty nesting, and your history is so dynamic and so many things, and just and everybody asks such good questions. I guess I think just your career going through it would be like. Which doesn't have anything to do with parenting or anything, but kind of what's your take on how media has evolved since the beginning of your career? I mean, the short answer, obviously, you could write a whole book on this, but
that's a great question.
like how has it changed to you, and what do you kind of like about it, and what are you trying to teach these kids at Pepperdine as they're sort of heading out that's that's really impactful in the dynamics that have changed in the world, because media is just such an interesting industry right now.
Yeah, it's a hot topic.
And let me just say one thing to you, and I'm sure you guys talk about this all the time. I have walked so many friends through the empty nest. So if you need help.
I think you just found your next book. Yeah.
Your next show.
My husband's brilliant idea was for us to take a trip, which actually was a really good idea, because I take my only son to college, and I'm, like borderline hysterical. And
heart
he waves
stabbing.
bye-bye to us. And we went to Italy like hours later, and it was such a great idea. Although we got there, and my husband and I looked at each other, and we one child, we so over coddled him. We were like, oh my God, how could we have left the country? Will he get lost? Will he get his books? Will he know how to get to class? Of course, he's been fine every day of his life ever since. And in media, this semester I'm teaching a social media class, which is kind of funny because I thought, oh my gosh, these kids will know so much more about it than I do.
Oh, wow.
But they really don't, because they are of the age that they got Instagram when they were in middle school.
Right.
And each one of them felt burned by Instagram in some fashion. And they don't really like social media. So I've had to explain to them that they want to be in this business in broadcasting. They have to have some sort of presence on social media.
Yeah.
So I've been kind of dragging them. They're a little social media shy.
Wow. That's not
That's
what you
surprising.
expect, where you would think.
Yeah.
Because social media, especially with young people, is such a big thing. But
I mean, how do they communicate?
It's
What
funny,
do they say? Do they say Snapchat, Twitter? I mean, TikTok? What do they say?
I kind of had to teach them about Twitter, and they said it's like them teaching me about TikTok, because it's a whole other different language.
Right.
Because I do a lot of Instagram and a lot of Twitter.
Yeah.
I don't do a lot of TikTok.
Well, as
If
moms,
they do anything, they're more likely to do TikTok. And for news, I mean, that may help them, but they really need to do Twitter, and they really need to do Instagram.
right. I mean, if you want to say something to the world and you don't want your kids to know about it, you post on Facebook, because these kids,
It's like they've never heard of
they're
Facebook,
not going to
these
do it.
kids.
So when she got her driver's license, I posted on Facebook, hilarious video, I thought. And, she has no idea.
It's funny, too, because my husband will post on Facebook, especially when my son went through that, oh, my God, please don't talk about me or post about me.
Right.
But he would see mine on Instagram, but my husband got away with it because he was posting on Facebook.
That's right.
That is the
So
safe
that's
space
interesting that the kids are a little bit burnt out, these college students on social media.
They're a little social media shy.
Yeah.
But they are figuring it out that they have something they want to say. So you kind of need social media so that people will hear what you want them to hear and what you want to say.
So, Dorothy, I have a quick question for you on the media. How do you feel about what's been happening in the media? You being in the biz for so long and hosting, do you have an opinion right now of what's happening and the switchover of media and everything?
Well, I think the world is very different between social media and streaming. And also, we laugh because the show I did was very honest and kind of authentic. It was a morning show.
Yeah.
And
so the banter was strong.
And I don't even know if you could say half of that stuff now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I get it.
But we used to, especially in the beginning when we had no ratings, and eventually we did have some ratings, but in the beginning, it was like a reality show.
Yeah.
And I just have this clear memory of one day a woman who I did not know in my own neighborhood walking up to me in Ralph's, my favorite grocery store, which is like my social life, and saying to me, "You don't need a facelift." And I was like, "Excuse me?" And then I realized I had said that morning.
Oh, really? Yeah. That's hilarious.
So I don't know. We treated our show more like a reality show.
Okay. All right. I like that.
And that's kind of refreshing. It's that because I was involved in something where I had to get some media training, and it was involved some political things. So I started to talk in the training, and every other word I was using, they would stop me and say, "No, you can't use that word. This word. This word's been focus grouped. This is the word you have to use."
It's a trigger.
It's not real. Yeah, it's like it doesn't feel as.
But I do say to my students, it's very different where I was. They're going into the world, so especially putting their politics on Twitter. I'm like, no. We want social media to take us where we want to go, not to stop us from getting the job we want.
Yeah.
Right. Oh well, that's
they need to practice every day where you want to be. You are practicing to be who you want to be.
Exactly.
Right.
And I thought that was amazing. I actually learned that from Michelle Obama. And she was like, I teach my kids. And I was like, oh my God, that is what's happening. These kids are practicing, what they want to be in the world. And you're helping them do that. So I think that's incredible to be
that they're shy about social media too, because one mistake on social media, like you're saying, that could end your whole career, because now employers are looking.
Oh, they do.
So,
they look at everything you post.
And that has to
even the stuff you deleted, somebody can find.
Everyone can find. That has to be challenging course for you to teach, because it's changing every day too. I mean, everyone's trying to, play with the algorithm on Instagram or TikTok. Or
at the beginning of the semester, it was like, gee, Twitter might go away, and now it's like, gee, TikTok might go away.
Yeah.
It's changing all the time.
Yeah. No, that's quite well. That'd be an interesting class. I wish I could take it. So what's next for you after your teaching career?
Well, I'm going to be teaching next semester, and I'm writing, so hopefully it turns into a book at some point.
Oh, wow. That would be amazing.
That would be awesome.
Where can we find you? You're talking about your social media professor. Where can we find you on social media?
Oh, on Twitter, Dorothy Lucey, no longer with the blue check, sadly. And on Instagram, Dorothy_Lucey, Lucey.
Well, great. Well, thank you so much again for being with us today. And thank our sponsor, NewCalm, the first streaming service for your brain. And check that out on InsideTheMomsClub.com, or if you want to win one of those 3 amazing packages they're offering. And check us out at Inside the Moms Club on Instagram. We hate to say it, but the time is over. I can't even believe it. But we'll be back next time with celebrities and extraordinary moms just like you. We know your me time is precious and valuable. Thank you so much for spending it with us. And don't forget our motto. What's our motto? If you don't laugh sometimes, what's going to happen?
Oh, you're going to cry.
You are going to cry.
So make sure to laugh every day.
Moms, laugh every day and enjoy every day. We'll see you next time on Inside the Moms Club.